So I've got some papaya seeds that I've been fermenting in some water here with a little bit of flesh around them for about 2 days. So we're going to go ahead and put them in a pot. I'm not going to try to get the flesh off of the seeds or anything. And I'm going to put them in I've got an old, a low hanging basket pot here. It's got some dry rot on it, but that's okay. We're just going to need it for a few weeks anyway if everything goes okay. So we're just going to kind of pour them all over here. Kind of space them somewhat all over. And just put some soil on top, a couple scoops. 3 scoops maybe. And pretty much that's it. Pack it down a little bit. It's supposed to rain today, so we're not going to bother even watering them in. It looks like some of these little avocados are forming little micro avocados. Well, all of them stay on there. Probably can't have more than 4 or 5, maybe less than that on this tree. It's a 15-gallon tree, but I'm assuming a lot of these will probably fall off, but who really knows? I'm gonna keep it fertilized and such. The pawpaw is loaded with flowers. The Tennessee seedling of mine. I mean, they're loaded with open full flowers right now. There's probably 30 plus open. I'm looking in the sun. You'll hear this in a lot of videos. Can't see what exactly I'm taking. But, yeah, there's one there. See if we can get any closer. Oh, wow, there's 4 right there with 2 more fixing to open, about 7 or 8 around it. So, did we find a pollinator to pollinate this year's plum cuts? Nope. You know, they say that plums usually flower for a month. And that's probably true. There are probably a few at the beginning, and then there's a few that stagger on near the end, a few here and there. But when they're doing their profuse blooming, everywhere, it's probably 4 or 5 days, maybe a week at max. And that's when you would really like to have another plum, doing your pollination with everything else. So we may still get a plum tree or several plum trees that will pollinate later on next year or a few years down the road. I'm sure if we do that, we'll have update videos. So this is the panhandle seedling, and it has just got 2. Let's see if I can find it. 2 flowers that are just starting to open. Another one getting ready to open. And let's look at some of these closer ones here. So there's one starting to open, and there's one right there starting to open. This is about where the sunflower is with flowering, so they're just starting to open, and there'll be female flowers for a few days, and maybe in 3 to 7 days we can harvest male flowers from the sunflower, and then come here and start pollinating the Tennessee seedling and this Florida panhandle seedling, and that'll be the start of our hand pollinating pawpaws. This is our elderberry that is a cross, I believe, between Adams and a wild Florida elderberry, and it has so far been the best, even knocking out Adams by probably 10% as far as production and stuff. We're still kind of early on. The flower heads are bigger. It's just as fragrant. It's got a nice purple tinge to the flower head stems. haven't really chopped them down and like managed them at all, which is probably why there's like 500 all throughout here. And some of these may be genetically different seedlings that are just sprouted everywhere. Some of them, and you know, a lot of them are probably root runners as well. So if these are all root runners, they're taking nutrients from the main tree. But we'll see after this year, and a lot of this will be chop and drop, and we'll try to manage the elderberries better. You know, we want to rate everything as far as what's going to bloom and produce berries this year. So I'm not lying when I say I've probably got 1,000 elderberries plants, you know, growing. This is just one section with all these, and there's some even like 60 or 70 foot that way, some about 70 or 80 foot that way. Who knows how far they go back that way and this way and all. But how many are genetically different, you know, and how many are root runners, we don't know. And you know, if there's a difference in, you know, a specific patch, then we'll know that's probably a different genetically different seedling. But so far this is best, and you know, if I give somebody some cuttings or something, I'm just going to call this best, unless this year we get something else that's better. But I can say, well, this is best, this is second best. Try to come up with a naming regimen. So this is the shady, or the back end of my male Himalayan mulberry, and it's pretty massive. I've been waiting like 20 plus years, you know. It took like 15 years or so before it bloomed, but I've been waiting like 20 years to see if we ever get a bud sport or something where, you know, a new limb would come out and it would change its sex to a female. As far as I know, that has not happened. Of course, if it's 35 foot high and, you know, 30 or whatever it is wide, there you could miss it. But I do occasionally come out here and look up and see. I need binoculars probably to really zoom in everywhere after it blooms and see if I see any actual fruit. And that's just something I've read and heard about for years and years, that mulberries can change sex, you know, depending on the need in the area, how much diversity of male and females have. And right about now would be probably when you would harvest mulberries. So they should have something either ripe or close to ripeness right now, if it was a female. I want to just finish out by saying that I made a video a few days ago saying it's not a phase, it's the time of the year. I talk about, like, you know, it's the bare rooting planting season, you know, for bare root trees to ship. A lot of times your local nurseries do not get certain plants in any other time of the year. And it's possible that these nurseries are actually getting theirs bare root, and they're putting them in containers and selling them as containerized plants. Like persimmons, you know, the local nurseries get them once a year, I believe. Sometimes they only get like plums and stuff once a year, or one season a year. They might get multiple shipments. So it's not just that. You know, it's getting hotter. The floods and the thunderstorms get more frequent. The humidity is really high. And with any break in the cold weather, we get mosquito activity that is terrible. So it's my body has just not been accustomed to Florida summers. Never, you know, even though I've been here pretty much all my life, I pretty much shut in and go inside and like just AC as much as possible, and the breathing is difficult, and I just get so, like, I lose all my energy in the summer, and that's been with varying weights and different levels of health, good and bad. It's just always been like that, even when I was really young. So you have, all these things, that contribute to saying this is the time of the year I need to do the main maintenance stuff. And some fruit trees and stuff you can get during the summer and in containers, but there is so much more work to them to get them established, and if you put them in the hot and flooding season, you can have drought that kills them. You might go a few days without water here and there, and it's so hot that it's something, it dies of heat and lack of water. And the opposite can be true as well. It can just flood, and the tree is not established. It's not healthy in the ground. It doesn't have those roots in the ground, and it just like that, it could just not make it through a single season. So that's just kind of something I also want to talk about. It's not just that bare root plants get shipped, at a certain time and they're not available. I just do not have the health and the strength and energy during the summer to do all of the work, so that this is going to cut back potentially of my wetlands permaculture stuff, and I never put a timeline saying I need to get this done in 3 months or whatever. It might be 2 or 3 or 5 years, and it may be a forever project, or it may be a project if I have like major failures where I just give up.